Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Inside the Doghouse, Intern Edition. Former intern, Gabby Dominguez. Gabby, you were a part of the Bloodhounds from 2015 to 2017, interning in the 2015 season, moving all the way up to coordinator of academic support, compliance, and eligibility. And I think what's interesting for people outside of the sports world, they don't realize how much actually goes into a student athlete's life, and not just on the field, off the field, but there's a lot of stuff in the back office, and that really seems to be your specialty. So if you could shed a little light on that, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I joined John Jay as the compliance and academic intern back in 2015. And it really turned into more so compliance, which I really enjoyed. And I know at the time I was working under a previous assistant athletic director, and they decided to leave. So I had to take over compliance because we were right at the start of the fall semester. And I remember when Athletic Director Carol Kashow was looking for her next assistant AD, she asked me to apply, and she was like, you can do academics. And I was super nervous just because I was similar in age to the students. But she gave me some good advice, and it really encouraged me to apply. And that's how I kind of got involved with the academic piece and just having the meetings with the students and just forming those relationships. There's a lot that goes to academics and compliance. I don't think a lot of people realize that. People usually think compliance are like the rule makers, like you can't do this, you can't do that. It's not personal. It's just to make sure that we're obliging by the NCAA rules. And then for academics, it's just making sure that students remain eligible, make sure they're making their progress towards degree. We don't have that D3, but you have it at D1 and D2. And making sure that they're going to graduate in their 4 years, because that's really all that we really want. So it's different, and it keeps me on my toes, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
You know, you mentioned Division III, and that's where John Jay is. You're currently at St. Francis, Brooklyn. I'm curious, what are some of the glaring differences between compliance at a Division I school and Division III?
Definitely progress towards degree. I know that we have to make sure that our student athletes are making that progress every single year, whether it's 24 credits, 40%, 60%. And so I know at John Jay, we were very strict in making sure students remain in their schedules, but at St. Francis, it's completely different. They have to go through so many approval processes to make sure that they can withdraw from a class, add an internship, add a course, and add a major and all that stuff. So it's completely different, I would say. And it's not, I know for myself, when I was at John Jay, it was a 2-person shop. At St. Francis, it's a 1-person shop for compliance with our director of compliance, Jim Hoffman. But then for academics, it's myself and then Oyen, who just joined us back in September. So it's a 2-person shop for academics, and it's split. It's 2 different households. The one thing I think that people don't realize is that my position actually lives in academics as opposed to in athletics. So I report to our assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs as opposed to our Athletic Director, Irma Garcia. So that keeps it like church and state, to make sure that we're obliging by all the rules, and that way we can have the student athletes follow the institutional guidelines and make sure that if there's any changes that need to be made, the academics portion is also aware of what's going on with athletics.
Curious, how much did John Jay help you, and some of the differences between, or similarities between, John Jay and St. Francis?
I think John Jay was super implemental in making sure that I was successful. I know when I first got to, I think just telling the story of how I got the internship, I was a nervous wreck trying to find an internship for my graduate program. And so I emailed every athletic director in New York City, and I was like, do you have something for me to do? And Carol Kashow was one of the people that responded. And I think just being there, and I think she was able to see my work ethic. I was able to go from intern to coordinator, part-time and then full-time through the NCAA Ethnic and Women's Minority Internship Grant. So I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. And I think from there, I did have weekly meetings with Carol, and she did ask me, she was like, what do you want to do? And so I told her, I was like, I want to do compliance and I want to do academics. So she sent me out into the world to figure out which athletic departments had that in New York City. And I was able to do some campus visits. And from there, I was able to make those connections with those people. And she also asked me, what are you also interested in? So I was able to do compliance, academics, which were my main roles, but I was also able to help with the EADA report, which is the business side of things. I was responsible for medical clearance through sports medicine as well. So I was able to get my hand on everything. And I think when I got to St. Francis, it was super different. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Just because it wasn't anything I was used to. It was more academic advisement, making sure the students were on top with like progress towards degree. So I remember like my first day, Irma Garcia had like a lunch for myself. And so she invited a few members from my office in academics and myself, as well as at the athletic department. And like we were able to meet, and then they just welcomed me. And I was super like pleased with that. I was like, okay, this feels good. Like this feels like where I should be. And I remember just having like that connection with our director of compliance and like coming to him with questions. I'm like, all right, so like this is what we have to do. What do we do here? And so I think it's grown exponentially from what my position started off as. Now we're like including more things, and like I'm still thinking, still revamping everything, but we're a small school and we just make things work with what we have. So that's great.
100%. And last thing, Gabby, there are maybe high school seniors out there or college seniors that are looking to get into the sports field, but particularly maybe behind the scenes or facilities, not exactly working directly with the student athletes on the field. What advice would you give to them to get an internship?
I would definitely say reach out like I did. I reached out via LinkedIn. That's how I found CUNYAC. And then I reached out to all the athletic directors in New York. And that's how I was able to find John Jay. And then I know some other institutions also reached out after I was already at John Jay. And then just having that conversation, if you can, with anyone in the athletic department, because they're obviously sometimes well connected. And so they could say like, hey, like maybe you should go here, maybe you should do this. And just getting that experience and reaching out. I've gotten so many emails through my inbox, and I've been able to like redirect these people. I know when Cherno was working at the Big Ten, he was able to come to our campus, and then he was able to sit with Irma. And so I remember he told her he wanted to be a Division III athletic director, and she was like, why just D3? And so I think just having that kind of connection and reaching out, the worst people could say is no. So I think just having that tenacity and that hustle, if you really want to do it, definitely get out there and make yourself known. So yeah, that's my advice for that.
No, and it's wonderful advice. Well, Gabby, it was fun catching up with you.
Yeah.
Good luck with everything, and we're all rooting for you here at John Jay.
Thank you. Go Bloodhounds.